Good day, everybody. How are you? Thank you for joining our first conducting your qualitative analysis using ChatGPT Part 1. My name is Dr. Moringa, and I'm the Research Director at MNG Research. Right, so today we're going to do two things. The first one is we're going to do a practical demonstration of how to conduct your qualitative analysis using ChatGPT, right? Those of us who are aware, normally the traditional approach to doing qualitative research or thematic research, so to speak, is using the Brown and Clark thematic analysis approach, right? Which has 7 steps, of course, that I'm pretty much sure that some of us are familiar with. So in this particular presentation today, it is divided into 2 segments. The first segment is the presentation of the step. I understand as academics and academic students, if a presentation is done without a PowerPoint presentation, some of us might feel like, oh, that was not really what, an academic presentation looked like. So just for the sake of those who are glued and who love PowerPoint presentations, I just prepared some PowerPoint presentations that I'm going to run through the slides quickly. Then after we've run through the slides, we're going to do the practical demonstration of how to do the actual data analysis, the thematic analysis of data using ChatGPT. So in this particular presentation, we're going to focus on a few key steps, right? So here's what you learn in this PowerPoint presentation or in this demonstration of doing a qualitative study using ChatGPT. Firstly, we're going to introduce you to prompts and commands, right? Key to conducting work or generating text or any information on generative AI is and are the kind of prompts and commands that you use. So if you master prompts and commands, your chances of generating rich and valuable information on generative AI are far much great and huge, right? As opposed to somebody who doesn't know how to use prompts, generate prompts, and get engaged with the generative AI. No matter tool that you're using, you might be using ChatGPT, or you might be using Grok or any other tool of your choice. Right, in this particular session, our focus is specifically on ChatGPT. So we're going to go through various steps. The first step is prepare your data or your transcripts or your research content. So in this particular case, we're going to look at how you get your data ready before you actually upload it on ChatGPT. The second one is familiarization. So if you are familiar with the Brown and Clark thematic analysis, that's the approach we're using, only that we are not following that approach in a traditional way. We have introduced an application, a generative AI tool, so that it enhances our efficiency and reduce the amount of time that we spend on qualitative or our thematic analysis, right? So you need to familiarize your data with ChatGPT and the research collaborators and stuff like that. Then you need to generate preliminary codes. We're also going to learn about categorizing codes into themes, which is Excel coding. We're going to learn about review and refine these themes and define and name final themes. And therefore, lastly, we're going to integrate the themes with literature and theoretical framework. You might be asking yourself, why theoretical framework? I'll tell you as we proceed. Prompts and commands. One need to ask, what are prompts and commands? So in generative AI, a prompt is the input or the instruction you give to the model to generate a response. So say you want to conduct your thematic analysis, there are a set of questions or instructions or commands that you need to give to that particular platform so that it can generate that work that responds to your question or your instruction for you. Often than not, we've heard concerns about ChatGPT hallucinates. ChatGPT is producing that which I'm not expecting, right? And most of that is influenced and lies on the kind of prompts and commands that, or the instructions that you would have inputted into the generative AI. So a prompt can be a question, a command, a sentence, or even an image or a piece of code, depending on what the AI system is designed to work with. So in this particular case, just remind you that our focus is on thematic analysis. This is a qualitative approach. So we are looking at, you have your interview transcripts. We're looking at you. Do you want to do content analysis? You want to analyze newspapers? You want to analyze reports? You want to analyze, you name it, right? So you need to work with a number of commands, instructions, sentences that will guide the kind of work that you would have produced, right? But before we move on, I want to make a distinction between what we regard assisted AI-generated content and AI-generated content, right? Assisted AI-generated content is that which you develop with the codes or the prompts or the commands, the sentences that we're going to use here. In actual fact, what you're simply saying by assisted, you saying you are enhancing your analysis using the AI, the generative AI, whereas AI generated content is that which is developed with limited instructions and limited interference from the researcher, but the platform itself generate that content for you. I thought we should make that distinction because it speaks to the issue of over-reliance and ethical use and responsible use of AI. So if you can make that distinction, it will be very easy for you to know where you are crossing the boundaries in academic research, compromising academic integrity and stuff. So now the framing, the analysis that we're going to do here in this is a point of demonstration. It's called a content analysis. Sure, most of us are aware with the content analysis. Content analysis involves the analysis of previous reports, analysis of previously published work, analysis of news articles, analysis of any work that has been previously published, right? So we're not going to delve into all sections of thematic analysis or qualitative analysis. In our previous, if you go on our YouTube page, we have done analysis of interview transcripts. So you can go there and watch if you're doing interview transcripts. We've already recorded that one. We have it, so it's ready for you just to go and see it and learn from it. So here we're doing content analysis. So this was the experience that you learn, that you get from this presentation. It will assist you, most importantly, in engaging with the generative AI ChatGPT with the use of prompts. That's one thing that you need to check away, the instructions, the commands that we're going to use. So these are umbrella, these are universal. You can use them and they will still generate rich content, rich results for you. So we're going to do framing analysis and we're going to use those prompts. So framing analysis is a kind of content analysis normally used in media and communication that reviews the kind of content or communication or information in published articles, published reports, published documents, so this will speak also to your systematic reviews, the kind of analysis you do in your systematic reviews, or you want to do a conceptual analysis. So those others will speak to that. So here you need to identify the dominant frames used in this news article when reporting on political protest, right? So the question that we're going to use, right, as an entry point is, how is the issue of corruption framed in the News 24 articles, right? So we want to do an analysis of the news articles from News 24 as a demonstration. So you need to customize this to your study, but the practical demonstration is going to be very helpful for everybody who wants to do literature review, systematic review, conceptual reviews, and everything that involves secondary data. Right, it's going to be very helpful. The practical demonstration of this. So how is the issue of corruption framed in these news articles? That's the premise, and that's the topic that we're focusing for the purposes of this presentation. Right, so key aspects of a prompt. So each and every prompt has key aspects that you need to master. Right, and I'm going to emphasize this, that if you do not master a prompt, you will struggle to generate rich information and rich results from any generative AI. So key aspects of a prompt is, number one, it sets the context for the output, right? So you need to give ChatGPT a context for your output. So you should never assume that ChatGPT or any generative AI knows your context, right? So the prompts, they set the context. They are descriptive in nature. They actually give the context to say, we are going to be analyzing news articles that covered on Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, Cyril Ramaphosa, on the issue of Phala Phala. So in this particular analysis, we want to look at specific A, B, C, and D. You give it a background context, a descriptive and detailed background context to say, this is where we're coming from before we get to this next step. So a well-crafted prompt can lead to more accurate and relevant results. That's a given. So in advanced use, prompt engineering refers to the strategic design of prompts to get optimal responses from AI. So at M&G Research, what we're doing now is that we are in the process of developing specific prompts for each and every section of the research process. So we have prompts to generate a good topic, right? For your research, we have prompts for generating your abstract. We have prompts for generating a background of your study. We have prompts for generating research questions. We have prompts for generating each and every aspect. That's what we regard now to as prompt engineering. So that when you get to those generative AI, you do not struggle with anything. What you do is that you copy and paste the prompts on the generative AI platform, and it gives you the best results and it generates optimum results. This cuts the long story short in that it generates your work and everything in few minutes. Right. So in short, a prompt is the starting instruction that tells a generative model what to create or respond to. Right. And this is where most people fail. And this is why most people feel that AI or generative AI hallucinates or provide fake references and provide information that is not accurate, provide information that is not justifiable. Right. So let's begin the first step. The first step when you are doing a qualitative analysis, a thematic analysis on ChatGPT, of which we'll demonstrate that for you. The first step is clarifying the research context and upload transcripts or articles. So the purpose of this step is to orient ChatGPT with the purpose of the study or the scope of the study. So ChatGPT would know, right? Even using Grok, right? ChatGPT wouldn't know what the scope of your study is. So for me, what you see on the screen that is my whole prompt that I would input on ChatGPT. So I'll say, this is my study aim. My aim is to examine how Lindiwe Sisulu is framed in South African newspapers with a particular emphasis on gender discourse and media portrayals of female political leaders. Then I'll put the research questions there. I'll say, what dominant frames are used to portray Lindiwe Sisulu in political public discourse, and how are gendered stereotypes reinforced or contested in in these portrayals? What role does newspapers play in shaping public perception of female leadership? Then remember, you're doing an analysis, right? You're contextualizing your study and are making ChatGPT aware what you're going to be dealing with. So then you need to include the theoretical lens. I say this study will use a framing theory, drawing from Edman 1993 and a feminist media theory from Van Zuyne 1994 to guide the analysis. I want you to look at how detailed my prompts are. Right. So the struggle that we have with generative AI is that you want to go in there and generate or analyze your data using a thematic analysis approach of your data, but you are not familiar with your aim of your study. You have not grasped the research questions that you want to do and the theoretical lenses through which the data will be analyzed. So this is the information, everything that you see on the screen. This is the information that you need to upload as a first prompt, right? This is the information that you need to upload as a first prompt. So we're saying we are making ChatGPT familiar with what we want to do and what the aim of the study is. Right. Then step number 2 is familiarization with the articles. So the purpose of this step is to identify surface level and latent framing patterns. So the prompts that I'll use, then I'll give you an example of a prompt is to say, for example, please summarize the key narratives and tone of this article. Does it portray Lindiwe Sisulu positively, negatively, or neutrally? What aspects of her identity or performance are highlighted? Right. So this is a prompt, right? Given that you are working with interview transcripts, you have to follow the same approach. So your approach or your prompt will be, please summarize the key narratives and tone in these transcripts. Do they reflect A, B, C, and D? Do they do what A, B, C, and D? And all the questions that you're asking, they are related to the key objectives of your study, right? They are related to the key objectives of your study or the key questions, and they're also in line with the lens or the theoretical lens through which you analyze your data. Right. So that's my expected outcome. I'm saying I'm expecting a paragraph from you noting the following, focusing on clothing, demeanor, family lineage, etc. I want you to emphasize on political conflict, on personal controversy. I want you to look at the tone of ridicule, respect, and trivialization. Look how detailed my prompt is. Right. I know what I'm looking for from this data. Right. So here, this is what we regard to as the AI-assisted generated content, right? As opposed to AI-generated content. So whatever you get from this study or from the generative AI, it reflects you and your approach as a researcher, as opposed to sit back and lean back and let ChatGPT generate content for you. All right, let's move on to the next. Step 3, open coding, initial labels of meaning. Right. Those of us who are familiar with the Brown and Clark coding, thematic analysis, this is what we call coding. Right. So this step number 3, what we're simply doing is that we are generating codes. Right. We are generating codes. So we say to ChatGPT, the purpose of this step is to generate descriptive codes for units of meaning in the text. And here's my prompt. My prompt is, line by line, generate open codes that capture gendered expression, stereotypes, and political framing of Lindiwe Sisulu. So this is what we are doing. You know your thematic analysis approach. You know your Brown and Clark thematic analysis approach. But what you're doing, you are enhancing your efficiency or your process of conducting this thematic analysis approach using the generative AI, right? So that doesn't take anything away from you as a researcher. It actually enhances your proficiency, your efficiency, and reduces the time at which you spend generating codes. right? So this is what you expect from the articles, right? Or something that you get from the articles from the generative AI. Number one, you get the experts from the articles. Sisulu lashes out emotionally at party critics. So these are direct quotes from the article. She's Becky's patronage, protege, but Lex is Polish. Her wardrobe stand parliament. The codes give the code now in this particular case is gendered, emotional, angry, and women trope. Gendered comparison to male politicians, objectification, and focus on appearance. So these codes are being supported by what? By the direct quotations. Right? So this is what you get after you've used this particular prompt on ChatGPT or Grok. Right, then step number 4. Now you need to group these codes into themes. This is what we regard to as the XOR coding. So the purpose in this particular case, you telling ChatGPT that the purpose now, we are at a stage of organizing the codes into larger interpretable patterns. So remember, the first thing that you've done was the context, and you upload your content or your articles or your transcripts. Now your prompt would be cluster these open codes into generative themes, suggesting thematic labels that relate to gender representation and political framework. An example of clusters. Theme 1 would be the one. So what I'm demonstrating here is actually the things that I've already done, right? So this is what optimum results that came out after we have generated these prompts, right? So we are learning prompts, we are learning how to generate themes now from ChatGPT using prompts that have been effectively generated. So the theme that will come first is emotional and unstable woman. Then you have your codes: lashes out, she lashes out, she's angry, Lindy Susulu is angry, she's an irrational tone, she uses irrational tone. Then the interpretation is that this reinforces patriarchy narratives of emotional instability amongst women. Right. Then the second theme is undermined by appearance. Then the codes are her outfit stole the show, glamour not governance, interpretation, media prioritization, femininity over competence. The last theme is familiar legacy over individual merit. Those of us who are familiar with Lindiwe Sisulu codes are daughters of Walter Sisulu, riding on legacy. Then the interpretation will be attribution of political success to family, not to her ability. Right. Step 5, as we get closer to rounding up the aspect of doing the thematic analysis, right? Before we get into the practical aspect of doing the thematic analysis, right? Step 5, which is to refine and define final themes, right? So in this particular case, now you're asking your generative AI to say, please clarify how each theme supports or contests dominant media discourse. And the prompt would be refine the themes to include short descriptions, example quotes, and relevant to feminist framing theory. And this will be your output. It will read, Lindiwe Sisulu's portrayal often emphasizes hairstyle, wardrobe, and grace, which trivializes her political gravitas. An example of a quote that supports this quote is this description is her heels may be higher than her ambitions. These are quotations that actually retrieved from the data that we're going to make an example of. So this supports, now you're explaining, this supports Van Zuen's 1994 claim that female politicians are often judged by appearance rather than performance, right? So what have we demonstrated here so far? We have demonstrated that you can actually conduct your thematic analysis step by step. By the 5th step, you would have an idea of what your data is. You would have your direct quotations. You would have a somewhat analysis that relates it with the literature. Right, and theory. Remember, we said our theories are feminist theory and our theories are the framing theory. Right, so let's linked to literature and theory. This is what we've just done. So this is now the stage where you actually coming up with a comprehensive analysis section, right? A draft analysis section. So the purpose of this, remember this, you are uploading all as it is on ChatGPT. You say, anchor your findings or anchor my findings in existing academic work. Then the prompt that I'm going to use is compare these findings to feminist media critiques of women politicians. How do these themes reflect or challenge global or South African scholarship? And your expected outcome, or this is what would come out. It says Beverly and Ross on women frames out as outsiders in power, Webley 2011 on symbolic gender regimes in post-colonial media, and May 2015 on South African women ministers and media vilification. Right. So when you have gotten to this point, what you have done is that your data presentation is almost complete, right? Not 100% complete, but you have an idea and you have something that you would work on, right? You have pushed and you have something that you've worked on. So the next stage now would be you need to draft the finding section, right? On the same platform, right? You come and say, the purpose of this, what we're doing now, you're talking and engaging with the generative AI, you ChatGPT, you say purpose. The purpose of this exercise now is to present a clear, coherent narrative of the thematic findings, right? Then you include your prompt, you say, using the finalized themes, write a finding section in academic prose, using subheadings, quotes, and transition between logic section. Then you give it an example of the structure that you're looking for. You say introduction to the framing and gender in the media, then second 4.2, politicized femininity. And these are the themes, remember, that came out. So you want your finding section to be discussed according to those themes, right? Then you press enter, right? So this is what happens, right? So this is just the demonstration of it, the practice, the theoretical demonstration of how to do your qualitative thematic analysis on ChatGPT, right? So the next section now, the next segment of our presentation, we're going to move to ChatGPT and replicate the same process that we've demonstrated and see what comes out, right? So this is where it gets interesting. We actually developing or writing our finding section or discussion section using ChatGPT on step by step, right? So I want you to take note of time, right? To say, if you'd have done this using the traditional Brown and Clark thematic analysis, how much time was I going to take? And if I use ChatGPT or any generative AI, how much time have I taken and how much time did I save myself? Right. So we're taking a break to hear feedback and thoughts and what you guys think as we prepare our screens for the practical demonstration of ChatGPT and using thematic analysis doing ChatGPT. Right, so I'm going to open this to comments and want to hear what you think on our first presentation as we get ready for the next segment. That will take a very short period of time. Then after that, we get into discussion again, right? We are very prepared to answer your questions and to do further demonstrations for you should you struggle to understand each and every stage of our presentation. Right, over to you. Let's hear what you think from our presentation so far. Yes, there's Doris. Ooh, a lot of hands. Yes, then we're gonna Doris. We have Ngwenya, we have Behari, and we have Shamila. Right, so let's hear Doris.
It's a good morning to you. Thank you for the presentation. I've been waiting for this because I'm doing grounded theory and I will be coding the analysis using the Excel, open coding, and selective coding. So you had posted that we have to have like on the prompts on chat, on the chat there, we should have the research questions, isn't? Now that like I have a main research question and the sub research questions, do I like write to say this is the main research question and these are the sub research questions? That's the question, the first question that I have.
All right, thank you, Doris. So I want to emphasize to you that the generative AI doesn't generate that which it is not given, right? So the moment you leave out your sub-research questions, right, when you are giving it prompts, those are going to be missing in your report, right? Whatever content that is going to be generated there, your supervisor or anybody who's going to read is going to identify those gaps to say the sub-research questions are not effectively analyzed. The sub-research questions are not effectively engaged. So what you need to do is to say everything that pertains your study. That's why I began by saying the aim of the study, the key questions, the objectives, the theory, the sub-questions, everything that your study involves, that anchors your study, it needs to accompany your prompt so that you have a golden thread, right? Because you see now when we are doing the demonstration of ChatGPT of what we're talking about, it should flow, right? Your final report should reflect your research question, should respond to your research question. I'm sure you know that. So that's what you should do. You should have your main research question, your aim, your title in there, your aim, your objectives, your question, your sub-objectives, sub-questions, your theory, and whatever information that is relevant to your study, that should feature in your finding section, right? It's very pertinent that those things are captured in there, right? Then let's go on to Shamila before we get to Peter. Hope you answered, Doris.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Yes, morning. Yes, morning. How are you?
Good, thank you. I think, for me, it's overwhelming, all of this, ChatGPT and AI is everywhere now. My concern is, or question is, regarding the use of this and plagiarism. The other question I have is when you obviously put in a prompt and you're getting feedback from that, there is references that's been made in the prompt, or the information or the feedback. Now, in relation to the references that are there, is it not that we need to obviously also access that reference and have obviously read it? Or yeah, I just want some guidance around that. The referencing that's there, how do we access the original article so we have an understanding of what the article is?
Right. I'm interested in that question, and it triggers my interest so much as someone who's been working on generative AI for quite some time. So my response to plagiarism, the first response to plagiarism, to the issue of plagiarism, is that I'm not sure from which institution do you come from, right? That doesn't matter. But I'll make reference to different journal articles. Should you want to publish, and I'll make reference to UKZN AI guidelines, right? So increasingly, most guidelines, they have come to accept that content generated from AI is not plagiarized content, right? It can't be regarded as plagiarism, right? Because this content here, it is summarized work from people's ideas, right? But now there's a question of saying, who are those people? That takes us to the issue of references, right? To the issue of references. I'm going to do for you a demonstration of how we should not rely on AI-generated references. Rather, we should guide AI with our own references. right? So, for example, you would provide AI with your list of references or articles that you've already engaged with. And you say, within the parameters of the discussion of these articles, this is where my analysis should come from. In that particular case, what you have done is that the work that AI is generated is the summaries of the articles that you have generated, that you have gathered, right? Then that addresses the issue of plagiarism and references. So the challenge now, I'll make reference to our students and to people, to people who are not familiar with ChatGPT, is that they are relying on AI generated content, right? And I made a distinction that there is a difference between AI generated content and AI assisted generated content. So the assisted content is that you are giving ChatGPT with the parameters of everything. You provide it with your prompts, you provide it with your articles, you provide it with your data. What it's doing is that it's reducing the amount of work that you would have done, right, on yourself. It's reducing the time you spend on NVivo or an Atlas. It's cutting all those long processes for you, right, and do it for you in a space of 10 minutes, right? Then you have a draft of what your data analysis chapter or your section for your article would have looked like. Then you begin to work on it, putting flesh on it. Then that's where your voice comes in to say, okay, I'm not liking this kind of thinking. I think my work should follow this line of argument, right? But you are working on a draft. You are not working from scratch, right? So that's why we say AI enhances efficiency, reducing time and cost spent on other softwares and doing a particular task. I hope that addresses your question.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Right. Let's hear from Peter, then we go to Ngwenya, as we just want to quickly do the demonstration of what we're talking about.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Peter.
Good morning to you and good morning to everyone. Inadvertently answering the first person and second question, you have answered my questions already, just to say that this is an eye-opener. That's far the presentation that has been made. Thank you.
Appreciate it, sir. I appreciate it. Right, then let's hear Peter. Oh, yeah, was it Peter or Dumi Ngwenya? Who just spoke?
It's me, Peter.
All right, let's hear from Dumi.
Yeah, okay. Maybe just two things. The other one is a question, the other one is a comment.
Yes.
I mean, I was doing some analysis, and this was in terms of interviews that have been conducted. I mean, I was able to fit that into GPT, into ChatGPT, and get quite similar themes from the ones that have been developed manually and what it had developed. But anyway, that's just to say that maybe it's not just that you need to everything has to be online, but you can feed in your research data that you have gathered into it, and it will be able to to code it for you and analyze it for you. But the question that I have is, I'm looking at this, and I think I probably, like everything else, academic prompts are sort of like a specialization of some sort. So the question, I don't know, there's a question. I don't think you can answer this question now, but probably a request to say maybe you should consider maybe actually doing a course on how to actually create the academic prompts that are effective.
All right, thank you so much. We're actually working on that. Like if you listen when I said, when I focused on the section on prompts and commands, I said at M&G, we actually engaging what we call prompt engineering, right? So we are working on prompt for every section of your thesis, of your master's, PhD, or your manuscript. So we're saying we have a prompt for generating a robust research topic, right? We have prompts for generating a robust research problems, right? And research questions, and you name it, until you get to references. How to check your references, how to update your references, without you do manually to say, I've submitted my article to this journal. They require APA. Now they rejected the article. I want to submit to another one that requires Chicago. So I need to change the reference. We have the prompts that will assist you on a click of button to update the whole article. All right. So that's what we're working at, and I really thank you for emphasizing that one for us. Right.
Yeah,
Let's
sorry,
hear.
yeah, just a
Yes.
follow-up. So are you going to provide that as a course, or are you able to provide the prompts themselves?
Right. So that one. Yes. So
the knowledge.
Right. So there's we do training. We're training institutions, right? So when we come to do training, we'll leave you with that handbook of those prompts, right? It's a package that we provide for you. So if we come to an institution, we train you on how to do writing a literature review or systematic reviews. As part of the package, we leave you with the prompts for a thematic or for a systematic review or for generating literature review, and the tools that we think are effective. So we leave you with that package for you to work on, right? To make your life easy, because this is value for money. You would have paid, so you must live with something, right?
Sure. Sorry,
Shireen.
That's last
yes.
one.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
How about for individuals? Because not everybody is in an institution at this point.
Yes. So for individuals now, that's going to be monetized of some sort. If you go on our website, you can download those. Not available yet, but hopefully by the end of August, we would have that finalized. But we have in-house that we use that you can request, and we'll see how we can assist you with some key prompts that we think you can come handy to you.
Okay, thanks.
Appreciate it. I'm going to take the last hand from Shireen Nguni before we move. Shireen Ngoni.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Okay. Yes. Before we get into the practical demonstration of our analysis. Yes. Shireen Ngoni. Yes.
Good morning. So I want to ask. Thank you for the brilliant presentation. So I want to ask, maybe from more experience, how receptive are journal houses and publishing houses on publishing, maybe when you mention in your methodology that I've analyzed using ChatGPT or any other AI platform, how receptive are they? Because I've seen that some journals, it's like they're against AI. They don't want to hear anything about AI. What's your experience in that?
Right. So I've had a very good experience and a very bad experience. Right. So I'm speaking on both strands. I'll give you a practical example of what recently happened. The 2 journal articles I recently submitted, right? I didn't include the methodology that I've used in terms of analyzing my data. Then one of the reviewers picked up that some sections of my work were reflecting elements of AI, right, which is very difficult to prove, because it depends with what tool are you using to detect AI, right? Turnitin, Scriber, Qbot, they all generate different results of AI on different work. And so to cut the long story short, the journal said, because you didn't disclose, right, then we are rejecting your paper. Then I sent the paper, I reworked on my methodology, right? Then I explained the step-by-step process that I took in getting to my findings. In all sections, I said my problem statement was refined through using Grammarly. Then I said the structure of the literature review and the themes were generated from consensus, and the synthesis was done with the assistance of Grok and ChatGPT. Then the references was done using Zotero, and so I had a detailed description and explanation of what I did, right? And guess what? In the other journal, the reviewers were actually happy because I was developing a methodology. That was one of the comments there. They say this is actually should be developed into a methodology that will be adopted by other researchers, right? But I'll tell you that it now depends with what the journal guidelines are, right? I read SAGE guidelines, I read COP guidelines, I read Emerald guidelines, I read a lot of guidelines. The emphasis is on disclosure and transparency and non-over-reliance, right? So if you look at those Q1 journals that are doing really well, they're clear that if you used, right, then you need to disclose, you need to have that section in your methodology of where you have relied on AI, right? So, but the problem is if your whole paper is saying everything was done by AI, then that's over-reliance, right? There should be a reasonable degree to which you depended on AI. For example, your data analysis, right? It's just that we're using ChatGPT now, but NVivo is AI, right? SPSS is AI. Atlas is AI. It's just that this is a more advanced AI, ChatGPT and Grok, right? But all those are early versions of doing thematic analysis using AI. So there's no nothing bad by disclosing, but there's everything wrong by not disclosing because you are unfairly presenting the work that was enhanced by some tool as yours, as if you have done everything. So some journals, you need to be strategic. Look at Q1 journals. Most of them are actually using AI to review the papers before they go for review. I'll tell you that the Frontiers are doing that. I'll tell you that some SAGE journals are doing that. I'll tell you that some MDPI are screening those papers. I'll tell you that some Taylor and Francis journals are doing that. So you need to be strategic and see where you submit your paper. But I know papers that have been accepted. I have papers that have been accepted and published. It's just that I disclosed, right? This is what I did in my disclosure of AI. And they didn't have a problem with that. And some of them are actually Q1 journals, right? And they are happy that I'm actually enhancing knowledge in my discipline by developing a methodology that has not been done before, that has not been used, but it's actually rigorous and generates those results that are credible. So that's it. I think I've answered your question. Let's move on to the ChatGPT. Right. Let's move on to ChatGPT. I have ChatGPT consensus and the data that I'm going to input. Then we take it from there. Right. I hope you enjoy this section. All right, so this is our ChatGPT, a nightmare for some, a heaven for most. Right, so this is just it. I mean, most of us have used it. I'm using ChatGPT 4, right? There's 3 free one, 0.4, some of them are free, but I'm using a subscribed one, all right? Here on the left, we have Sage, we have the library, we have Codex, we have Sora. I want to familiarize you to this here where it says ChatGPTs, right? So if I click here on ChatGPTs, it has different extension that it has, right? So the first one is Write for Me, right? Which is scary. If somebody says Write for Me, maybe it's a ghostwriter. Right, then here we have Scholar ChatGPT. This here is advised because it has enhanced research with over 2 million research resources, right? Then you have Consensus, that we're going to use consensus for our analysis, right? Consensus, I'll describe for you when we get to consensus. We have AIPD, drive, cheat, create, and organize, right? This is where you can communicate or have a conversation with any PDF article. You upload it, then you ask questions. Where is, give me quotations. Where in this PDF are they talking about this particular topic? So you can have that communication with them. A lot of tools, and we'll do some workshops on those and demonstration for you, especially that you are engaging in analysis. Right. By ChatGPT, right? There's NSU. I'm hearing myself from your chat. Can you please mute? Right, we have a lot. We have writing, we have AI humanizer. Humanizer, it reduces the amount of work that is reflected, AI detected. We have grammar checker, we have presentation if you want to do your PowerPoint presentation. We have a lot, research and analysis. This is where I wanted to take us to, right? We have, so there is NVivo, there is SPSS, extension in ChatGPT, right? There's everything, you name it, right? But for interest tech, we just want to do a basic analysis. We don't want to look at NVivo. We don't want to look at Atlas. We just want to do a basic ChatGPT, right? So we have a new chat here, right? We have a new chat. Right, what's on your mind today? There's a lot on my mind. My mind is processing a lot of things. I can't even answer this question. Right, the tools, deep search, create image, web search, or canvas. What exactly do you want to do? Right, these are options that you have. We're going to want to do deep search when we're doing the analysis. But here, the first thing that we need to do, we need to upload. Right, so you go add photos or files. We need to upload, right? We need to upload our data. I'm going to go to, so remember I gave an example. I say this is a content analysis presentation that we're going to be doing. And I've given you the topic that we'll be focusing on. If you still remember, we are focusing on a specific topic that we're focusing on. So ChatGPT allows you to upload 10 articles or 10 documents at a time. Right, so we're going to upload 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, let's just work on 5 so that we don't overwhelm the system and also the network might struggle. Right, and so let's see how long are they going to upload. Right, all of them are uploaded. That was quick. I love this. Right, so remember we say step 1 is you need to clarify the research context and upload the transcript or the articles, right? Then you tell them the purpose. So we're saying here case study and everything, right? Then I'm going to do that. You see it shortly on the screen. So I have my prompts already generated. Remember we said we are involved in prompt engineering, right? So this is my case study. So the issue that we're focusing on is media framing of Lindiwe Sisulu and gender representation in newspapers, right? The reason why I'm using news articles is that I don't want to use my own data because of privacy. My participants, I told them that I will not use your data for anything else. So I can't use any other data, right? And I don't want to fabricate data again so that we can do this demonstration. So I'm actually doing a content analysis of news articles, right? So the first step is clarify the research context and upload transcripts of articles, right? The purpose is to orient ChatGPT with the study scope. The aim of the study is there, the research questions are there, the theoretical lens with which we use is there, right? So, but there's something missing, right? There's something missing. We need to tell ChatGPT why I'm uploading all these things. Why is ChatGPT receiving all these things? So I'm going to start by saying here, in this session, I am going to do a thematic analysis approach. Right, so I said here, in this session, we're going to be doing a thematic analysis approach using the Brown and Clark thematic approach. I've uploaded the articles for you to understand the context and the background of where the study is coming from. All right, we are not generating work first. We are not generating text yet. This is just a first step to understand context, right? Confirm if you understand the context and aim of the study, right? What more do I need to provide for us to get started, right? So this is a good command, right? Remember, this is what we call prompt engineering. We are generating text, we're having a conversation. So let's click here and see what ChatGPT is going to do for us, right? I love the response. It says, yes, I fully understand the context and aim of your study based on the information and uploaded articles. Here's a brief summary to confirm alignment between before we begin Brown and Clark 6 phase thematic analysis, right? Then it gives me media framing, then it repeats everything that I gave it. So to show that, of course, they uploaded. Now, here's the interesting thing. It has identified, right, the articles that I've uploaded articles confirmed resignation and cabinet reshuffle from IOL, German tourist killing and Sicily statement, IOL crime, Russian prize jurist invitation, the Star, anti-corruption and public service from IOL, then her post dismissal stands, that is from the Star. What is still needed to proceed with thematic analysis to begin step 2? Right. Now, remember, we already have step 2, but let's hear what it's saying. Confirmation of scope. Should record only Lindiwe Sisulu or mention how far other female politicians are framed, right? For contrast, our study is basically on Lindiwe Sisulu, so we don't want to include other people. Then we need to respond to this, right? Are we limiting analysis on IOL publication, or is broad media corpus expected, right? These are the questions that you need to ask to ChatGPT. Research design and clarification. Is this part of the larger qualitative study? Is it a PhD or master's? See, these are the things that I've left out. Are you conducting manual coding or using software in NVivo, Atlas, ChatGPT? I want to use ChatGPT. Operational definitions. What counts as gendered framing, right? You need to provide it with those parameters. Participant input, if applicable. Are there interviews or focus group data in addition to the media text? No, there is none. Final output. Do you want themes in a code book table format with quotes or interpretation? Do you want summaries, memos for each article before we begin cross analysis? Once these are clarified, we can begin step 2, generating initial calls, followed by theme development and review process. Right. So let's give answers to what ChatGPT is asking us. Right. So I love this because this is involving the researcher himself, right? This is different from having ChatGPT just generating content for you. So I'm saying the first question is that we are only focusing on Lindiwe Sisulu, right? We're having a conversation. We're only focusing on Lindiwe Sisulu. Then the second question is, we are only analyzing IOL, right? Then the third question is, this is for MA, right? Then we go down, then we say the third question is, we want to use ChatGPT, but follow, right? We just want ChatGPT, right? Even though you can use NVivo Atlas in ChatGPT, Right. Then the third question is definitions. What counts as gendered frames? Should we focus on militant, maternal, emotional? Right. Then we say focus on this. Right. We don't want to waste time. Right. We say focus on this. That it's suggestions. Right. Then we move on. We say operational definitions. What count? Okay, we've already addressed this. Participants. We say there are no interviews. Interviews. Right. It's only quantitative. It's only content analysis of the articles. Right. Then we move here. Then we say, do you want themes in a code book tables format with codes or interpretation? Do you want a summary memo for each articles? Right. Then we say final output is interesting. Then we copy final output here. Then we say we want both. Right. Then this is our response, but we need to move on to the second stage, right, which is familiarization. Step 2 for us is familiarization. Remember, we spoke about it, right? Then we need to tell it that we have confirmed, right? I have confirmed your questions, but let's move on to step 2 according to my guide below. Right. There you go. It can upload an image or it can upload the text, right? So our phase 2, our step 2 is that we want us ChatGPT to familiarize with the articles, right? This is a Brown and Clark approach, but we are doing it at a advanced level using digital generative AI. So we're saying purpose, identify surface level and latent framings, right? Prompt is please summarize the key narratives and the tone in these articles. Does it portray Lindiwe Sisulu positively, negatively, or neutrally? What aspects of her identity or performance are highlighted? Then we say expected outcomes, the things that we might be looking, so this will speak into the issue of inductive or deductive. Do you want your data analysis to be inductive or deductive? But we can choose to remove the expected outcome so that we see what it generates organically, right? Then let's click enter and see what comes out. Right. Look at this. So it's saying to me, excellent. With your clarification confirmed, we'll now proceed to step 2. Familiarizing with the articles following your guide. Below is a detailed summary of each article, key narratives, tone, and highlighted aspects of Lindiwe Sisulu's identity and performance. Each article will be reviewed with attention to both surface level and latent implied framing using framing theory, feminist media theory with a focus on tone, militant, maternal, emotional, lexical choices, and narrative positioning, right? So article 1 says, that's the title of the article, right? This is clear. I can confirm because I've read the articles. It was published on 9 March, the start 2023, militant confirmation tone, resolute. So they were use words such as fight and fight, phosphorus, and radical economic transformation, right? These are our codes. Then the narrative framing is the frame Sisulu as a principled political dissenter who challenges the mainstream leadership of the ANC and President Ramaphosa. Emphasis is placed on a moral courage, particularly regarding corruption, the public service, then gendered framing elements. Unlike many portrayals of female leaders as emotional nurturing, Sisulu is constructed here in traditional masculine frames of militant resistance and comparative leadership. There's another tone of defiance, a defiance against patriarchy authority, especially a critic of male-dominant leadership. Overall, positive tone towards the Zulu, particularly in polarizing ideological stance. However, implicit suggests isolation from MC mainstream. So all the 5 articles that we have uploaded, they are given summaries. We have summaries of all the idea. Now we understand what each article is talking about, right? With the 5 articles, you can do that for your 10 articles, for your 20 articles, for your 50 articles, no matter how many articles that you have. We have an idea of what each and every article is talking about. Remember, we said we need a table. So here, this is our table that shows initial familiarizing findings. You can copy this and add this in your thesis or in your dissertation or in your manuscript. So the initial stage of our familiarization, this is what come out. The article, the first article, militant find, right? Then the tone, militant confrontation, the narratives, then the gender representation, and overall portrayal, positive, negative, highly positive, neutral, or neutral, right? So we have an understanding of what our 5 articles are talking about, right? Then we need to move to our third stage. Our third step now, we are looking at the coding, right? We want to do coding. Now we want to code these articles. We want to generate codes. Remember, this is the thematic analysis approach, right? We're saying, let's do the coding now. Step 3, open coding, initial levels of meaning. Purpose, we need to generate descriptive codes for units of meaning in the text. For example, the prompt that we have, a line by line, generate. Look how specific I am in this prompt. I'm saying line by line, generate open codes that capture gender expression, stereotypes, and political framing of Lindiwe Sisulu. Example of output, right? I'm going to remove these examples because I've done this already, right? I'm going to remove this so that it won't generate the same stuff. So I'm saying here, provide example output, right? In form of a table, right? Let's leave it open-ended so that it will still give us a table and the text. Then we click here. Let's see the codes that we're going to have, right? So example output of open coding table, right? Right, our output here is generated in form of a table, right? So we have experts here from each and every article of 5 articles, right? Lindiwe Sisulu vows to continue a militant fight. This speaks to the issue of militant framing or defiance, right? Even without a cabinet post, this is political marginalization. This is former minister. So these are the codes that we have, and this are the direct quotations from the articles that support these codes. So you can do this same approach on your transcripts, right? You can follow the same approach on your transcripts and get the same results that are specifically relates to your transcript, right? So I love the last question that ChatGPT asked me. Would you like to continue this process article by article, presenting one table at a time, or would you prefer all 5 articles open coding results together in a consolidated format? Now, as a researcher, you know what you prefer, right? So remember I said the journal articles, the Q1, or you're doing framing analysis or content analysis, they would need to know this process, right? So you're documenting this process. Those of us who are at UKZN, if you read the AI guidelines, it says clearly that whenever ChatGPT is used, right, the student assignment should be accompanied by the description of what the student does, right? And some other journal, if for example, Sage, it says whatever ChatGPT is used, the transparency and accountability is that you provide an appendix, an attachment that describes what you've done. So you will be copying and pasting these tables, right? Putting them there, and these descriptions, right? And these things that you've done. The purpose is not for them to punish you, but the purpose is that you actually developing a methodology for yourself or for the field that can be used by other researchers. And at the end of the day, emerging researchers or researchers 5 years down the line, they are not citing Brown and Clark anymore. They're actually citing Moringa, saying how to do thematic analysis using ChatGPT. Because in 5 years from now, I tell you that most of the thematic analysis will be done through ChatGPT. Right, without wasting time, let's move on to stage 4. Our step 4 is to group the codes into themes. Right, now we want to group our codes into themes. Right, let's group our codes into themes. We're saying to ChatGPT, step 4 is group codes into themes. This is what we call Excel coding, right? Our purpose is to organize the codes into larger interpretive patterns, right? Prompt, for example, cluster these open codes into overarching themes, suggest thematic labels that relate to gendered representation and political framing. Example thematic clusters, right? Then we have given it examples, right? So let's click here and see what it generates for us. It says excellent, right? It shows that it understands, right? So the militant woman as political threat, that's our first theme that comes out. It says the code that came out, remember the codes that we have. Then there is an interpretation, right? This theme constructs Sisulu as a combative and confrontational figure whose activism and radical reform agenda position her as a politically dangerous. While the tone validates her principles, the militant framing echoes masculine coded descriptors often used to delegitimize powerful women by portraying them as excessively aggressive, threatening the patriarchal code, right? So we have our themes now. We have one theme, we have two theme, and the interpretation, we have three theme, and its interpretation, we have four theme, with interpretation, we have five theme, with interpretation, and we have a table capturing our themes, right? This is the table, militant and interpretation. So all the themes that have come out now, we have the brief description of these themes. But remember, we're still going. The thematic analysis approaches 6 steps. We are on step number what? We are on step number 4. Let's go to step number 5. Refine and define the themes, right? Refine and define the themes, right? That's the step number 5 of the thematic analysis. Then we go in here, refine and define the themes, right? Then we click here. The purpose is to clarify how each theme support or construct dominant media discourses, right? Now, I'm going to add one word. I'm saying in detail. This phrase will change the whole outlook of what is going to be generated here, because remember we say prompts are a game changer. So the word in detail is going to change everything. So let's click and see what comes out in detail. We say it in detail. We need detail, right? So theme 1, right? So theme 1 is militant woman. Definition, Sisulu is framed as militant. Then we have the quotes. Example of the quotes. These quotes are authentic. They are coming from the articles themselves. Then relevance to the framing media theory, right? Then relation to the framing theory, right? So we have a skeleton of each and every theme that we have for our manuscript or for our dissertation, of everything, right? That whatever work we're working on. Right, that was step 5. Then step 5 now is linking to literature or theory, right? Then we want to link to literature or theory, right? So this is the game changer now. When we want to link to theory or literature, remember ChatGPT is guilty of generating, if ChatGPT is guilty of generating false citations. It's guilty of hallucinating, right? So we want to introduce a dynamic. The moment we mention literature here and theory, it requires us to actually provide it with literature and theory. Right. So I'm going to introduce for you consensus. Right. You need to be aware. I'm going to generate for you consensus. Right. So consensus is a accredited a platform that is more advanced than your Google Scholar when we are searching for literature. So for you to get effective results, we have a section where we'll only focus on consensus, but we have done that already on consensus, on searching literature. We have it on our YouTube channel. So for us to get best results from consensus, we need to use our research topic or our central question, right? So we're saying our title or our research topic is, how does the media frame women politicians in South Africa and abroad, right? This is us. We want to search for literature that we're going to use to do our analysis. Now, we want to link our data or our analysis that we have presented, our findings, to your literature and theory, right? So we're saying, how does the media frame women politicians in South Africa and abroad, or let's say, and beyond? In South Africa and beyond, right? Right. This platform here called Consensus, it is filters, right? It is filters, and it's beautiful that we have filters. So the first thing that we need to limit is that we want articles that were written in the past 5 years, from 2020 to 2025, right? If you can see on screen, right, we just selected 2025. Now, it talks about journal rankings. I don't want the poor journals, right? I want Q1 journals only, literature that was generated from Q1 and Q2, and okay, let's limit it to Q1 and Q2 only, right? That's it, right? So I want, now it gives you an option of looking at what kind of methodologies do you want. I want to focus on case studies, right? I want case studies, or I want all types of research that were done. Okay, it's fine. Field of study, 23 field of study. Countries that were selected is 263 countries, right? This is vast, right? But you can select, I just want in the USA, right? And I want in South Africa, or you choose. So your analysis, you want it to be as broad as what? So we have 3 filters that we've looked here, right? So we say, yeah, okay, we're fine, right? Then we say search, right? It's searching, all right? The purpose for us is to generate what? A literature that we're going to use in ChatGPT so that we can do an analysis, thematic analysis, right? So this is what your consensus is going to do. It's a media coverage of women politicians in South Africa and beyond often reinforces gender stereotypes, marginalized. It gives you a brief analysis of what it talks about, right? What it talks about. So this is all our work that we have, right? All our work, right? I'm also there. Women will never be equal to men, right? Let's see who authored this one. Okay, it's me or my student, right? I've picked up this is a Q1 journal, right? If you read this journal, we're not going to read it. It is a section where it describes how the data analysis were done. This is a Q1 journal, right? We have a lot of them. So we want to take this literature and take it to ChatGPT so that our analysis is informed by literature. So if you click here, right, it gives you an option to download. So it can download all this literature here in the summaries, or you can even add more, but we just want 20 articles, right? If you click here and download, you click here, then you can have and you can send it to EndNote, to Medley, or to Zotero, your literature. But this one, you want to send it to ChatGPT. So we download it here, right? I've downloaded it, right? I'll show you, it's here. How does women, so this shows all the literature that we have. I'll show you, right? So then I'm going to upload it on my ChatGPT, all right? Then this is here. This is the literature that I have downloaded. This file here is all the literature that showed up, and I'm going to attach it, right? So I'm saying our step 6 is to analyze or to link our literature to our findings or what we generated to literature and theory. So I'm saying using the attached literature only, right? Follow the guidelines below, right? And the word only is a game changer, right? The word only is a game changer. Remember, I said prompts are very important when using generative AI. Prompts, this word only, it sets parameters to this generative AI to say, don't include anything else that is outside of what I've given you or outside of the literature that I've given you. So we can here say in brackets, right? Don't include literature outside of the provided literature, right? So this answers the question of my colleague about referencing and plagiarism, right? I said I'll demonstrate for you. So by so doing, we've already removed the issue of plagiarism, and we've already removed the issue of what? Of references. So all the references that are going to come out from here are going to be references from the references that are going to be credible references that are verified, published in Q1 journals, right? Expected output is paragraphs, right? And analysis, the findings. That's our expected output. What am I expecting? Right. So let's see what it does, right? Now I want this to be more nuanced, right? Write in paragraph format, right? And follow, I'm reinforcing or I'm buttressing, follow the thematic approach, right? For better results, for a better analysis, right? Focus on theme by theme, right? Right, let's see what comes out and see if we are on the right track with our thematic analysis approach, right? Theme 1, right? Theme 2, then theme 3, right? So there's something missing. We're saying the analysis of Lindiwe Sisulu and stuff like that, right? There's something that ChatGPT didn't do, right? If I open this table here, this table has all the literature, right, that I've provided ChatGPT, but on one of my prompts, there's something that I've missed or something that I've omitted. There is no citations, right? Then I'm saying reformulate and include citations, right, from the literature that I have provided you with, right? Make sure you have as much engagement with theory and literature as possible, right? Use the literature I have attached before, right? Let's see if it now understands what we're looking for, right? Right, there you go. So it says here, for us, it says Lindiwe Sisulu, portrayed as a militant political figure, reflects a dominant media strategy identified in feminist scholarship, where assertive women are framed as unruly, emotional, excessive, in several articles. Now, this is the introduction of the theme, and this is the quotations from the theme or quotes from the theme, and this is here. Now we're looking, this is an example, a direct quotation from the theme. So you can expand this by saying, add more quotations, add more discussions, add A, B, C, D, right? Then this aligns with Van Zyl 1994, right? And this aligns with Edgeman 1993. These are theoretical papers, right? This is theory. We can't do away with this, right? This is theory. Right. But now remember one thing. So this is looking good. We are getting closer to having our finding section coming to life. But if you understand findings or discussion of findings, you'd know that there's something still missing here. What referencing approach are we using? Right? We say reformulate. Right. Use Harvard style of referencing. Right? When referencing all citations, right? Use the sources that are more relevant, right? And within the 2020 to 2025 years, right? Then I'm going to re-upload, right? I want to remind ChatGPT so that it doesn't hallucinate. I'm going to re-upload my literature again and say, use the attached literature. Right? Right. Then we say, don't hallucinate. Must tell it, don't hallucinate. Don't go beyond what we've given you. Harvard. Right. If you want, some writers are specific. Say, I want at least 4 citations in every paragraph. Right. Then let's see if we are getting any closer to what we are looking for. Right. Right. So my ChatGPT, it's still struggling. I want to show you something. It's still struggling with the kind of approach that I've used. Why? Because I didn't tell it to use. I said Harvard style of referencing, right? I might need to be more specific. I need, right, author, use for citations. Use author and year, right? Only, right? Then let's see what it produces there. Use author and year, right? So the process of getting the best work from ChatGPT it's not as most people think, that you just go and say generate this information for me, right? There's actually a work of read your work, go back to it and understand exactly what you want to produce. So it says Lindiwe Sisulu, now we have author and year 2025 Lamini, we have Mukwena, we have Ngwenya. Now this is what we've been looking for. Right, this is what we've been looking for. So if this is for a manuscript, you know that you are 95% or 75% done with writing your findings section for your manuscript, right? This is besides the discussion section. Right, let's go to the last step. The last step now, depending on what you're doing, is to generate the actual finding discussion. So this year's step that we did was to want you to understand as a researcher to see if ChatGPT can actually generate the findings that you like. I would like this, and I think this is closer to reality, but I would still need to verify everything that is in there. The last step of our presentation of what ChatGPT wants, what we want ChatGPT to do is to draft the finding section. Right. Purpose, present a clear, coherent narrative, your thematic findings using the finalized themes, write a findings section in academic prose, use subheadings, quotes, and transition logic between sections. Now, we want to give ChatGPT how many number of words do you need? Right. So let's just say in 2,000 words. In 2,000 words. Right, that will change everything that's going to come out. Example of structure, then we give it the example of structure. Then let's give it some time. Generate it for us. This is the last section, right, of our presentation. Clearly below is a 2,000 words draft of the findings section, findings chapter of your work, right? You can do more than that, right? You can do more than that. Depending on the kind of thematic or how you want to present your quotations, you can tell ChatGPT to say, I want my quotations to be separate from the analysis or from the description. I want them to stand alone so that I can follow through, whatever, you name it, right? You name it. So this is summary of the finding and theoretical reflections. This is what ChatGPT has, this is how far ChatGPT has taken us. Right, then you would need what we call reflexive commentary. You're going to need final refinement, integration into the dissertation, and etc., etc. But already you know what your data is composed of, Right. So this is what this is how far ChatGPT has taken us to. It's been I think we spent only 2 hours to get to our actual findings, right? So you can hear, just to show you something, right? On every theme, right? Make sure you have at least 6 direct quotes, right? That are detailed and capture the context, right? We need detailed quotations. They must be separated from the analysis, right? So that we can see what the actual article was saying, right? ChatGPT might have a problem when I say it separate from the analysis, right? So I'm going to delete that. They must be accompanied by a description and comparative analysis so that we can see what the actual article was saying, right? If you put this prompt here, we're going to have a different outlook altogether, all right? This is going to be a different outlook altogether. I think I'm running out of memory. Understood. I'll now revise the findings chapter to include at least 60 themes, right? It's we're running out of tokens, right? Say generate according to what we have done previously. So these are prompts, right? ChatGPT does that. Sometimes it gets tired. I mean, when you're getting through the end of the day, there's what we call tokens. You might be running out of tokens, right? So when it sees that you've generated a lot of work, you're running out of tokens, then it stops working for you, right? You see what it's doing now. It's running out of token because we've reached to the end. Remember, we're at these steps. So we've reached to this end here. You're going to give it some time to think through and wait. But here, what it has done is a table that you can also include in your article, in your dissertation. It says, Lynn quotes the quotes that I use, the context, right, and etc., etc. Right. So let's have a discussion. I think we have what we have done. You introduce consensus and ChatGPT to conduct your thematic analysis that you'd otherwise have taken ages and ages to do, right? I'm going to close these tabs, or should I leave it like that? But I'm opening for the next 10, 15 minutes. Let's have a feedback session. Engagement, let's talk, right? And hear what you guys think. Right, our first hand is coming from, let's engage colleagues. I have my colleagues here in the research center that might chip in to address some of your questions, or if you want a description. The first hand comes from Dumi Ngwenya.
Yeah, okay. So I presume that if you give it links without necessarily giving it the PDFs, you can achieve the same. Because I'm thinking about some news articles that some online news outlets that do not necessarily have PDF formats.
Yeah, so it's the reason why I used PDFs is I want to, this particular kind of demonstration, it caters everyone who wants to do data analysis, right? Those ones who are using transcripts, those who are using but you can actually use themes, right? To cut the long story short, you take all the themes and give it themes. It still achieves the same results for you without you downloading and converting anything to PDF. You can still use the themes. But the importance of you using PDF is that you need to go back and actually verify if these direct quotations are accurate, right? You need to, these direct quotations, they need to be verified. All these codes that we looked at, right? I have the table of codes here. Remember, we have a table of codes Yes, here, this is thematic overview, right? These are the outputs. I'm looking for the codes that we generated, the table of codes. Yes, output of the codes, right? These codes here that we have here, they need to be, you need to go and verify them. That's where the agents of the researcher comes into play. You need to go and verify if these direct quotations are actually there in the hard copy articles that you have used. All these codes, you need to go and verify. That's why makes a researcher a researcher. You've used ChatGPT to assist you, but you still need to go and verify everything in your final product. This product here, it needs to be verified before it is submitted so that you know that what is captured in these themes is actually the actual data that you have worked on, right? But the link will produce the same results, maybe even more better, right? It will produce the results. Let's hear from Shamila.
Hi, I'd like to find out, you mentioned earlier that you're using the subscribed version of ChatGPT. So
Yes.
I've downloaded the free version. I'm not sure if I would get similar results when I put in my article. Or
Right,
is it, yeah, maybe you can just guide me on that.
Yes, you definitely get the similar results, but ChatGPT is going to close you out at some stage because it will tell you that you've running out of tokens, or your time, your uploads, especially when you want to upload work, it will tell you that you can't upload anymore, right? Then you're gonna get stuck. So you have to start again tomorrow, right? But this version here, you can upload all your articles. You can upload all your 20 apps. I remember I did a study of where I have 50 transcripts from interviews, right? And I did the last paper I did, we used 100 news articles, right? It's actually published. That paper is actually, it published last week, actually, right? I can share for you that paper. It published last week. We used 100 articles that we uploaded on ChatGPT, right? And it ran the same that same results. And when we were done, we actually went one by one in what has been run to check and actually verify if the articles and the direct quotations are accurate. And indeed, they were all accurate, you know, and the quotations and the citations and everything were accurate. So the free version would get you somewhere, but the subscribed version will definitely give you the optimum results. All right. I'm not sure if
Thank
you have any
you.
other question. Yes. All right. Any other questions? Any questions? Shereni Ngoni, I'm not sure if you, yes. You can ask if you want to add something. All right, there's Joel. The Joel.
Yes, how are you, sir? Thank you very
I'm
much
good, thank
for
you.
the good presentation.
Yes.
May you please, if you may elaborate on issue of plagiarism and stuff which we are afraid of. And if I have used the ChatGPT, what should I do if I have used it to do my literature review and other research work? Thank you.
Right. So I want to show you something. This is I'm just gonna do one paragraph, right? I want to do plagiarism check, right? I want to do plagiarism check. So I'm here on a plagiarism check. I'm sure if you can follow my screen, you can follow, right? Confirm. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Right. So I want to check the level of plagiarism in the work that I've done here. This is chapter 4. I'm just going to do section 1. I'm just going to do theme 1 and theme 2. Right. Let's check here if there's any plagiarism in this work that we've done. Right. Right. So it says here there is zero plagiarism. This work here is not plagiarized from anywhere else. That's what it tells me.
Okay,
Right. Even on Turnitin, if you put it on
yes,
Turnitin,
yes.
it still
Yes.
generates the same results.
Oh, okay. That's fine. What about okay? How then do you link, for example, if you have used the issues like end note that what do you call it? That system of referencing.
EndNote. I'm familiar with EndNote. Yes. What is the question?
Yes.
Cause yeah.
The question now is after using ChatGPT, does it then automatically reference whatever is whatever I've used for my literature review using EndNote? Does it then automatically populate?
Yeah. So you can upload your EndNote library for that particular paper that you're working on ChatGPT, right?
Good.
Then
Good.
when you upload that library or that list of references, so it is going to take us to the basics of what is happening behind what we are seeing on the screen, right? Which will take another section that we're gonna need to do, because for you to understand why there's no plagiarism here, right? You
Yes.
need to understand what is happening behind when you put something on ChatGPT. So that will require you to understand things like large language models processing. That will require you to understand what we say supervised generative AI, unsupervised generative AI, and reinforced in AI, generative AI. So you need to understand all those things for you to be at ease, right? But because I understand what is happening in the background, right? I understand the coding that is happening in the background of this screen. I'm at ease because I know that I'm not plagiarizing anything. To give you an example, what is happening here is that AI, if I put this literature here that I uploaded, when I put it on ChatGPT, what ChatGPT is doing is just to summarize what these studies have said. For me, it's not generating any new knowledge. It's just summarizing this for me, right? Something that I was going to do for myself for 5 hours, it just does them in 2 seconds. That's what is happening behind the background. That's simply what it is, right? That's what it's doing, right? So when I put the articles, the news articles, what it's doing, it's just looking for the themes that I'm looking for, or things that are relating to my research questions for me in the background. And what I see on the screen is the end product. That's why there's no ChatGPT. So it's basically taking a human mind and putting it on a machine, right? I hope that answers your question. Let's hear to Maria.
Thank you very
Maria.
much. Thank you.
Okay, great. Maria, are we rounding up? Maria?
Oh, okay. I've got the same question as these were on the chat, and
Yes.
on whether quantitative data analysis can be done using AI as well.
Absolutely. You can run SPSS on ChatGPT. Remember, I opened here, here, right, on analysis. I'm going to search. Can you see my screen? Please confirm. Right.
Yes.
Yes, I'm looking for SPSS here. There's SPSS, data analysis SPSS. If I click here, it's going to take me right to say, start a chat with SPSS. Right, you're going to see here. It's taking time. Right, there you go. Now you can do all your tests here. So any kind of, now the question, how do I do the test reliability of my SPSS data? It can actually guide you through running your data. So you can do any kind of data analysis on ChatGPT. You can upload your Excel sheet here and it can run it for you, whatever test that you want to run, and produce the tables and the graphs for you. It can do that for you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so let's hear any other. Ngwenya, okay, Ngwenya, is that an old hand?
Okay, thank you very much for this wonderful and insightful presentation.
Yes.
I wanted to go back to that guy who was talking about plagiarism, maybe to ask a further question on that plagiarism. We just tested plagiarism. What about AI detection? Are we not going to be tested on that? If and what percentage is allowed for AI detection?
Right, thank you. I love the question. I really love this question. So I would tell you that depending on the institutional guidelines, you need to be aware of institutional guidelines of what level of AI that is required, right? So what happens is I'm implementing AI guidelines or the framework of AI at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, where I'm in the task force, right? So the University of KwaZulu-Natal guidelines, they do not have a 10-18 percentage, a percentage as to how much AI can you use. All right. And the reasoning behind that is the university wants to develop knowledge and wants to develop its own AI tools. And so they want to develop new methodologies, right? Drawing from AI. So they said, if you've used AI, no matter how much you've used it, right? Document how you've used it, right? Develop a methodology framework of how you've used it. So if we put a 15%, 10% there, is going to limit your innovativeness of using these technologies because they are vast and they can do anything. Right. So if we limit you on saying just use 10%, what about all the other potentials of AI that it has? I'm not going to use them then because I'm afraid I need to use 15% only. So in actual fact, we shouldn't come from the traditional way of thinking of using AI where we say, oh, Turnitin is 15%. This is not plagiarism. This is technology. We need to develop technologies. Right. So we need to develop new methodologies from Africa, from our context, right? From our disciplines, right? So we're saying, let's borrow from the thematic analysis approach that was done by Brown and Clark, right? They are the highest cited authors in the world because of their thematic analysis approach. Now, I'm going to be the highest cited because I've developed a methodology of using thematic analysis using ChatGPT, drawing from my discipline of media framing. You get it? So let's not limit ourselves, but adhere to the guidelines of your institution. Adhere to the guidelines of your institution. In one of our presentations that we're going to do how to check AI in your text and how to reduce AI in your text using the same platforms. That's what we're going to do. Right. I think I've answered your questions. Your question. Is there any other question as we round up? Any other questions? Any other questions? No questions. Thank you. It's an honor for the help. Please note that our website is currently okay. All right. If there is nothing, then let's call it a day. And please subscribe and watch more of our videos on YouTube. It was an honor having you. Enjoy your Saturday. Good day and good luck. Thank you so much.
Okay. Very kind of you. Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Grateful, grateful.
Thank you. Quite insightful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.